Hello to all you wonderful first graders in Mrs. White's class in New Jersey. It's Mrs. Bankert again. I'm so happy to be here to read to you, and I have a really special book of Eric Carle's today. Probably his most famous book of all, and you probably read it when you were a little kid. But it's such a good story, and it has science in it too. It's very interesting. And of course it's called The Very Hungry Caterpillar. And that's a giant-sized caterpillar, isn't it? By Eric Carle. He, of course, loves insects. He does a lot of books on insects. I have more to read to you about insects, which is interesting. Not a lot of people do that. And there's Mr. Sun. Remember, my granddaughter dances every time she sees Mr. Sun, because we always sing that sun song. And look at Mr. Moon, as Mrs. White used to call that when she was little. In the light of the moon, a little egg lay on a leaf. Here's where it all starts. The moon looks like he's just looking right at us. Ah, Mr. Sun, Mr. Golden Sun. One Sunday morning, the warm sun came up, and pop, out of the egg came a tiny and very hungry caterpillar. That's the best sun ever. He started to look for some food. On Monday, he ate through one apple, but he was still hungry. Now, this is something Eric Carle likes to do. Things happening on the days of the week. Remember, we had some like that. He likes pattern books. On Tuesday, he ate through two pears, but he was still hungry. On Wednesday, he ate through three plums, but he was still hungry. On Thursday, he ate through four strawberries, but he was still hungry. What kind of food is he eating? They're all fruits, aren't they? Which we're all supposed to eat. Four strawberries. What could be next? On Friday, he ate through five oranges, but he was still hungry, of course. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, these pages are so big and hard to move. Look at all this. On Saturday, he ate through one piece of chocolate cake, one ice cream cone, one pickle, one slice of Swiss cheese, one slice of salami, one lollipop, one piece of cherry pie, one sausage, one cupcake, and one slice of watermelon. Now, if you ate all of those foods, what do you think would happen to you? Probably. So that night, he had a stomachache. He went a little overboard, didn't he? For a tiny caterpillar. You can just see his face. He's looking miserable. The next day was Sunday again. Excuse me. The caterpillar ate through one nice green leaf, and after that, he felt much better. It's much better for a caterpillar to eat a leaf than all of that food that he ate. Now, he wasn't hungry anymore, and he wasn't a little caterpillar anymore. He was a big, fat caterpillar. He built a small house called a cocoon around himself. He stayed inside for more than 2 weeks. Then he nibbled a hole in the cocoon, pushed his way out, and you know what happens? Of course you do. He was a beautiful butterfly. Isn't that just a miracle that that happens to that creature? No other creatures go through changes like that, do they? And we learned a lot about what's called the life cycle of the butterfly. Every spring, my granddaughters and I raise butterflies. This is our butterfly habitat that you can order. And they send you some live caterpillars. And we watch the caterpillars in the habitat build a cocoon, or a chrysalis, as it can be called, around them. And then after about 2 weeks, out comes a beautiful butterfly. And we watch them for a couple days, and then we let them go out in the yard. And every time my granddaughters see a butterfly, they think it's one of the ones that we raised, and it might be. They even name their butterflies. But that's something fun to do about caterpillars. As I said, this is probably his most famous works of all. beautiful pictures of all. And my second book is a whole different kind of book. Not about insects, about a man named Walter. Walter the Baker by Eric Carle. Find out what Walter does. Seems like a baker would have a good job. I would love to be a baker. There's the sun. Mr. Sun. Mr. Golden Sun. Walter the Baker. Long ago, in a town encircled by a wall, lived Walter the Baker, his wife Anna, and their son, Walter Jr. It's like a castle with a moat, isn't it? Long ago, they said. Walter the Baker was known even outside the walls of the town. He was the best baker in the whole duchy. That's his town he lives in. Early every morning, while everyone else was still asleep, Walter began baking his breads, rolls, cookies, tarts, and pies. I'm getting hungry just hearing about it. Nothing like homemade baked goods. Even the cat is interested. Anna sold the baked goods in the store. No one could resist the warm, sweet smells, drifting from Walter's bakery. People came from near and far. Sometimes the light's shining on the words and I can't see them. Look at the people lined up. Wouldn't you like a nice piece of warm, homemade, fresh from the oven bread? There's Anna. People line up. The Duke and Duchess, who ruled over the duchy, loved Walter's sweet rolls. Every morning, Walter Jr. carried a basket full of warm, sweet rolls to the castle where they lived. Here comes Walter Jr., Walter's son. He brings the sweet rolls to the castle because the Duke and Duchess would not come and buy their own sweet rolls, would they? No, they'd have to have them brought to them. Said the Duchess, spreading quince jelly on her roll. Ah, said the Duke, putting honey on his. And so each day was the same as the day before, until one early morning. You know there has to be a problem in the story. Something has to happen. When Walter's cat was chasing a mouse and, tipped over the can of milk. Now you have to have milk to make special pastries and baked goods. What will I do? Cried Walter. I can't make sweet rolls without fresh milk. In desperation, Walter grabbed a pitcher of water. I hope nobody will notice the difference, he said, as he poured the water into the flour to make the dough. Do you think they'll notice a difference? I think that might make a big difference in your baked sweet rolls. There's the mouse that the cat was trying to get. Now, you and I may not have been able to tell the difference between a roll made with water and one made with milk, but guess who can tell the difference? But the Duke and Duchess, especially, could tell the difference. Ah, said the Duchess after she took a bite. What is this? Roared the Duke. Where's Walter the Baker? Bring him here at once. Excuse me. Oh, poor Walter. So Walter was brought before the Duke. What do you call this? Roared the Duke. This is not a roll, this is a stone. And with that, he threw it at Walter's feet. I used water instead of milk, Walter admitted, hanging his head in shame. Pack your things and leave the town and my duchy forever, shouted the Duke. I never want to see you again. My Duke, pleaded Walter, this is my home. Where will I go? Please give me one more chance, please. And the Duke speaks. I must banish you, said the Duke. But then he remembered Walter's good rolls and how much he and the Duchess would miss them. Well, Walter, the Duke started to say. Then he thought some more. You may stay if you can invent a roll through which the rising sun can shine 3 times. That's interesting. Invent a roll that the rising sun can shine through. And to make it more difficult, he added, it must be made from one piece of dough, and most of all, it must taste good. Now go home and bring me such a roll tomorrow morning. Poor Walter. Worried and sad, he trudged back to his bakery. So he has to make a roll that the sun can shine through 3 times. Walter worked all day and into the night. He made long rolls, short rolls, round rolls, twisted rolls. He made thin rolls and he made fat rolls, and he worked some more. Walter, Walter beat, pulled, pushed, and pounded the dough. But it was all in vain. He's not having any luck making this roll. He could not come up with a roll that would please the Duke. By early morning, Walter had only one long piece of dough left. "It's hopeless," he cried. In a sudden fit of anger, he grabbed the last piece of dough and flung it against the ceiling. "Stick there," he yelled at the dough. But it didn't. It fell, and it twisted itself as it dropped down and plopped into a pail of water. Anna and Walter Jr. were awakened by Walter's yelling and rushed into the bakery just as Walter was about to dump out the water and the twisted piece of dough. "Father, stop!" shouted Walter Jr. "Look!" And Anna quickly popped the dough into the hot oven. Soon it was brown and crisp. She took out the roll and handed it to Walter. It hadn't risen very high, but it had 3 holes. What do you think she's making? It twisted itself on the way down. Look at that. Walter held up the twisted roll and smiled. He saw that the morning sun was shining through it 3 times. 1, 2, 3, just like the Duke asked, shining through it. Walter put the roll into a basket and rushed to the castle to deliver his invention to the Duke and Duchess. And they too saw the morning sun shine through it 3 times. Then the Duke and the Duchess each took a small bite. Walter was afraid to look because he had no idea how it would taste. "Well done," said the Duke. "Perfect," exclaimed the Duchess. Both were glad that Walter would not have to be sent away. And Walter too was happy that he could stay. "Now, pray tell us, Walter, what do you call this?" asked the Duke. Yes, pray us tell," Walter stammered as he tried to come up with a name. "What was that? Pretzel," said the Duke. "Pretzel it shall be. From now on," he declared, "it shall be sweet rolls in the morning and pretzels in the afternoon," said the Duchess. I have both. Walter returned to his bakery and spent all day and night making pretzels. The next morning there were baskets of pretzels outside the store for the whole town to taste, and a special basket of pretzels for the Duke and Duchess, and a cheer went up for Walter the pretzel maker. And that's an interesting way to think. Do you wonder if pretzels really came that way? This says the word pretzel comes from a Latin word that means arm. That's strange. The pretzel was originally a simple bread eaten. Its shape is based on the position for prayer in which the arms were folded across the chest when people are praying sometimes. That sort of looks like a pretzel too. Interesting how those things happen and where we get names for things from. Very interesting. We're happy that Walter the baker got to stay in his town. Dukes and duchesses can be pretty bossy, can't they? So I have one little thing I'd like you to do when you get your blue journal. If you would just draw me a picture or write the word for which kind of food, if you had a bakery, what would be the favorite kind of food, baked good that you would like to make for your bakery. I know what mine is. Mine is a jelly donut. Oh, I love jelly donuts. So if you can think of one and just draw the picture or write the word for what would your bakery make best. Take care now. Bye.